Steal the thunder of today's announcement, but I will say it represents a new approach to how we work together and get things built. It's a meaningful milestone, and Brampton is proud to be here at the forefront. It speaks to the strength of our partnerships and a shared understanding that cities need the tools and flexibility to deliver for our residents. Minister Robertson, it's also a pleasure to welcome you. I have to say, as a former big city mayor, we feel a real kinship to Minister Robertson. You know, his time in Vancouver has really led him to be in a position to understand the frontline challenges we face, and you know, he's been so kind to spend a lot of time with our Canadian Big City Mayor Caucus, and I know he's been a great advocate at the Canadian Cabinet table for Canadian cities. When governments work together, with that understanding, we can move faster, build smarter, and deliver better results. Since we last met with the Prime Minister, I have to say I am pleasantly surprised by how fast the government is moving. It was only 62 days ago that we had a meeting with the Prime Minister and our Canadian Big City Mayor Caucus and spoke about the urgency of the construction season this spring and summer. And it's remarkable that in such a short period afterwards, you're both here. That's action, and it shows what's possible when there's alignment and urgency to get shovels in the ground. And I'll add that the housing ministers actually met with our Big City Mayor Caucus and over 4 times, and we've had a chance to meet with them over 4 times one-on-one, and it's an example of commitment in action. This partnership is about ensuring that communities like Brampton can continue to grow, thrive, and deliver the quality of life that our residents expect. And shout out to the local MP too. This was not on my notes, but Sonia Sadu, you know, one of the projects being announced today, she advocated for so enthusiastically that I just want to say we're thankful that we got some great MPs in Brampton. We're building for today, but more importantly, we're building for the future, and we're doing it together. So thank you, Prime Minister Carney, for being a great friend to the City of Brampton. And with no further ado, it's a pleasure to invite Minister Gregor Robertson to the podium.
Thank you, Patrick. And bonjour tout le monde. Good to be here this morning in Brampton. Great to be here with the Prime Minister and particularly all of our colleagues from around the region here. A year ago this month, our government was elected to build Canada strong. Our entire Liberal team of MPs took on that mission with relentless urgency, and my housing and infrastructure team focused on building stronger communities with speed and ambition. But we all know these are challenging times, and I am deeply grateful for the work that our Prime Minister continues to do to navigate these times. Nous ne reculons pas, nous choisissons l'action. Nous devenons plus forts, plus autonomes et plus résilients. We are investing and we are building. We launched Build Canada Homes in September to build affordable homes smarter and faster at a scale not seen in generations. Maison Canada nous aide à bâtir à une échelle et un rythme sans précédent depuis des générations. With Canadian workers and materials, we are catalyzing a modern, innovative, and more productive home building industry across the country. And as we build more homes across Canada, we also need to invest in the essential infrastructure that supports more homes and people. In far too many communities, it can't support additional housing or the people looking to build their homes and their lives. Speaking with mayors and MPs from cities and towns at every corner of our country, their concerns about infrastructure are very real and very urgent. And my team and I are on the ground working with them to invest in this critical infrastructure. From life-saving, climate-resilient infrastructure that can withstand the more frequent extreme weather and disasters, to the transportation and energy grid infrastructure that creates jobs and healthier economies for residents. I know how difficult this work can be. I served as a mayor of my city for a decade, so believe me when I say the work we are doing now is transformational for our communities. And this is where the Build Communities Strong Fund comes in. The investments we will make are more than water pipes, buildings, bridges, and rapid transit lines. They are investments in people, in families, in neighborhoods. And this is just the beginning of Canada building at an unprecedented speed and scale. Merci and thank you. And with that, it is my honor to welcome our leader, Prime Minister Mark Carney.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gregor. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. It is a great pleasure to be back in Brampton. It's a great pleasure to be back with Mayor Patrick Brown. Thank you, Patrick, for your partnership on this project, your partnership, your leadership, your vision, your action across a wide range of initiatives in Brampton, making Brampton more secure, more prosperous, and more fun. Because in the end, fitness, fun, and community is where we are today, is what Century Gardens Recreation Center and its new community youth hub is about. This broader space will house and host a basketball court, amphitheater, esports room, the Atiba Hutchison soccer court. Mayor and I were just talking about this, named after Atiba Hutchison, of course, one of Brampton's greatest exports. And kids are already beginning to train on the soccer court in the hopes of matching his incredible career that included, and I looked this up, 109 caps for Canada. Think of those kids dreaming of playing in the World Cup. A very long time ago, I had similar dreams. I didn't realize my dreams of playing in the World Cup, or the NHL, for that matter. But I did make close friends, and I learned the right values playing sports at my community center, the Laurier Heights Community Center in Edmonton. So 40-ish years later, I returned there last year to launch my campaign to become the Liberal leader, and with the support of the voters of Brampton and elsewhere, Canada's Prime Minister. But when I launched at that time in the community center, my core message was, it's time to build. And today, we're beginning to deliver on that promise for communities right across Canada. That means building hospitals in our communities, so people don't have to drive 2 hours or wait many more when their child is sick. It means building new rapid transit that reduces traffic and cuts the commute home in half. And it means community centers like Century Gardens where kids can play safely on the weekend. Le nouveau gouvernement canadien réalise de grands projets d'infrastructure, des ports, des mines et des autoroutes qui relaient et transforment notre économie. Et nous établissons des infrastructures locales solides qui relaient les communautés et transforment les services qui vous sont offerts, vos déplacements et vos vies quotidiennes. Les communautés locales sont au cœur du Canada et nous bâtissons vos communautés fortes. Canada strong means Halifax strong, Laval fort, Brampton strong. And today, as the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure just mentioned, we're officially launching the Build Communities Strong Fund, a $51 billion investment in community infrastructure across this country. We're partnering with provinces, territories, and municipalities to build local infrastructure, from better hospitals and public transit to new community centers. And there are 3 streams of funding: a provincial stream, a direct delivery stream, and a community stream, and I'm going to spend a few minutes going through each. The $12 billion provincial and territorial stream is focused on public transit, education, healthcare, and housing-enabling infrastructure. Last week, Premier Ford and I announced the first agreement under this stream, called the Canada-Ontario Partnership to Build. And this partnership does many things, but one of the most important things is it will cut development charges in half across the province and eliminate the full 13% GST and HST on new homes valued up to $1 million. So you combine those lower taxes and lower fees, that's up to $200,000 off a new home right here in Brampton. We're also working with Ontario on half a dozen transit projects, from the Hamilton LRT and the Waterfront East LRT to the Alto high-speed rail. We're pursuing similar partnerships with all the provinces and territories to make housing more affordable and our communities safer and more vibrant right across Canada. With provincial matching and cuts to development fees, what's happening is all orders of government can pull in the same direction towards the same goals. En plus de renforcer les communautés, les infrastructures locales jouent de plus en plus un rôle déterminant dans la construction résidentielle. En l'absence de transport en commun, de réseaux de traitement des eaux usées adéquats ou d'espaces communautaires, les familles ne veulent pas déménager. La demande de logements ralentit et les logements ne se construisent pas. So we're working with provinces to do many things, including modernizing colleges and universities, and that includes the $25 million for the Toronto Metropolitan University School of Medicine right here in Brampton, so Canadian workers can train. As I mentioned, we're building the buses and trains that connect our communities. And one of our top priorities, and this is a new priority for the federal government, a top priority is federal funding to help build and revitalize Canada's hospitals. Because in many communities, hospitals were built in the 1970s, and they're now serving populations that are twice as big as they were designed for. Families are waiting too long for the care they deserve. So we're deploying $5 billion through a health infrastructure fund to build more emergency departments and new urgent care centers. And we're investing in long-term care, palliative care, and mental health care to fill infrastructure gaps across the health care system. L'une de nos grandes priorités est d'investir des fonds fédéraux pour bâtir et moderniser les hôpitaux du Canada, pour que vous puissiez recevoir les soins dont vous avez besoin. Nous investissons 5 milliards de dollars afin de bâtir davantage de services d'urgence et de nouveaux centres de soins urgents. Cela comprend de nouveaux investissements dans les soins de longue durée, les soins palliatifs et les services de santé mentale. Under the second stream, the $6 billion direct delivery stream, we're working with the Canada Infrastructure Bank to help mobilize private sector investment to amplify public dollars and accelerate projects. And as Gregor mentioned, this includes building climate-resilient infrastructure to reduce the impacts of floods, extreme heats, and fires. It also means local communal spaces that bring people together with our first project right here in Brampton. I'm pleased to announce that Canada's new government will be investing $64 million to build the new Embleton Community Centre and Park. This is huge. This is hugely exciting. It's a 175,000 square foot space with competitive and recreational pools, a gymnasium, a fitness center, child care services, an ice skating pavilion, courts for tennis and pickleball, nets for cricket. It will be a space where families gather, where kids learn to swim, where athletes train, and where this great community grows. And it's happening. It's only happening because of the strong partnership between the federal government, the private sector, and the city of Brampton. I want to thank Mayor Brown for his leadership. I want to thank Sonia Sidhu, the MP for Brampton South, as well as our Brampton caucus, for championing this great project and getting it built. This week, our government is launching its first tranche of projects that will build communities strong across Canada, from Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, to Iqaluit, to St. Albert, Alberta, who were our great rivals when I was growing up in Laurier Heights. So I just want to, this shows that we're governing for all of Canada. The government will announce a dozen projects worth $300 million in federal funding this week, from new sports and recreation centers to new water treatment plants and reservoirs that provides the necessary infrastructure to enable new home building. Now, we know that local communities will have even more ideas, so we're also launching a new portal on the Build Community Strong Fund webpage for proponents to apply for new projects. Et le dernier volet, le volet communautaire doté de 27 milliards de dollars permettra de réaliser des investissements prévisibles et à long terme dans les infrastructures locales. Ces investissements sont directement destinés aux municipalités et concernent près de 20 catégories d'infrastructures publiques, dans les infrastructures des eaux usées et des eaux pluviales, les routes et les ponts. Au cours des semaines à venir, une série de projets iront de l'avant dans ce volet. Funding for the Building Community Strong Fund will be matched by nearly $17 billion from provinces, with additional billions leveraged through municipal partnerships and private capital. The Build Community Strong Fund will, as a result, be a force multiplier, supporting over 42,000 high-paying careers in communities across Canada, from engineering to skilled trades, and boosting our GDP by an estimated $95 billion over the next decade. Think about that. That's $12 billion in infrastructure investment, local infrastructure investment, every year for the next 8 years, nearly double the rate of the previous 8 years. And, as the Mayor kindly mentioned, we'll move fast. And I will point out that at that meeting of big city mayors, the Mayor made a number of important points, Mayor Brown did, including, first on his list, moving fast, hitting this construction season. In the coming year, nearly 500 projects representing over $6 billion in investment are expected to break ground. En bâtissant des infrastructures qui favoriseront la construction résidentielle, nous permettrons la construction de milliers de logements. En septembre, nous avons lancé Maison Canada pour catalyser une nouvelle industrie de la construction résidentielle au pays. Nous utilisons des terres publiques, des technologies novatrices et du financement pour bâtir des logements le plus rapidement depuis une génération. We're building the right projects, and we're doing so in the right ways. We're building sustainably with low-carbon investments that make Canada more competitive. Embleton will be net zero. We're building in solidarity with workers, creating good union jobs across the skilled trades. We're building inclusively in full partnership with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. And above all, we're building Canadian, with Canadian workers, Canadian steel, Canadian lumber, Canadian expertise. Every project, from housing and public transit to roads, bridges, hospitals, community centers, will support workers in the skilled trades by prioritizing those Canadian materials and Canadian manufacturing under our new Buy Canadian policy. Now, going back to where I started, in a little over 2 months, a few kilometers from here, Canada's men's soccer team will take the field for their first game at the World Cup. Brampton will be well represented. Tejon Buchanan, Kyle Lauren, Jonathan Osario all started their careers in Brampton's community centers, parks, recreational centers, places like the ones we're building today. Now, the true value of community infrastructure goes well beyond these superstars. It goes to every kid who gets to play, to every parent who gets to watch, to the safe spaces to work out, hang out, and just have fun. Because when we invest where we live, we invest in each other. And that's how we build Brampton strong for all, and Canada strong for all. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Merci, Monsieur le Premier ministre. Nous allons maintenant passer aux questions. On a 2 questions. Première question, first question. Shubi.
This is Shubi from Y Media Group. I was in Kananaskis at the G7 summit. I saw how you greeted Indian Prime Minister Modi there. And recently, I was on the India trip with you. I saw how Indian Prime Minister Modi greeted you as well. You even praised Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Australia. It's good to see that the leaders' chemistries are working well and they're working in synergy. But how does strengthening Canada-India benefit Canadians? And do you have any idea when Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be coming to Canada?
Well, thank you for your question, and thank you for attending both of those important events, the G7, and I'll just make a comment on that first, which is one of the important things, Canada's perspective for the G7 was to widen out our engagement in the G7. So, of course, Prime Minister Modi was there, President Zelensky was there, as was President Lula and others, President Lula of Brazil. We recognize the world as it is and broadening out. Second is that our relations with India, Canada's relations with India have evolved. It's one of respect, one of engagement, and one of deepening commercial ties. There's a broad range of areas that we're working in. Minister Sidhu is here, the Minister of International Trade. He's leading free trade negotiations with India with an intention of both sides, Prime Minister Modi, myself, to conclude those negotiations by the end of this year. That will create tremendous opportunities for Canadian exporters. It'll create better choice for Canadian consumers. So there's those opportunities that are there. In addition, in selected areas of technology, there's places where we can cooperate. The Minister of Artificial Intelligence is here, Minister Solomon, and we have a partnership that was struck at APEC between ourselves, India, and Australia, where we will pool some of our technology resources, including artificial intelligence, in ways that serve people. And that's the key point, and one of the points I believe I made about Prime Minister Modi and I'll finish my answer here, in Australia, was that he very often starts from looking at how changes, whether it's to the financial sector, to agriculture, to artificial intelligence, how it affects the mass of people in India. And that's exactly the approach we're taking. How will artificial intelligence, how can we work together so that it works for people, not against people? That's one of the many elements that we'll cooperate with India on. So thank you for your question.
Perfect. And any indication on when Prime Minister?
With respect, I have extended an invitation to Prime Minister Modi to visit Canada, and we look forward to welcoming him. There is not a date that has been set, but we will want to make sure that that a visit, when it happens, is able to touch the broader community in Canada. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you
Next
so much.
question. Thank you. Question, question.
Good morning, Carly
Morning.
Thomas with CBC News. This morning, President Trump posted on Iran saying, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again." What's your message to Trump, and do you believe this rhetoric?
The first is that Canada expects all parties in this conflict, in any conflict, to respect international laws, the rules of engagement, and that means not targeting certainly civilians or civilian infrastructure. And we urge all parties in this war to follow those responsibilities. It's a point we've made publicly and privately. There is I'll just observe that there are some negotiations going on, and that there is often a gap between what's said publicly and what's happening privately. We are not at the center of those negotiations, although we have some visibility to them. However they unfold in the coming hours, in the coming days, the coming weeks, those negotiations, those discussions, those movements, as it must towards a cessation of hostilities and a reestablishment of security and peace in the region, those international responsibilities, those humanitarian responsibilities remain for all parties throughout that period.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
En français. Tout d'abord, c'est la responsabilité de tous les combattants, tous les pays dans ce conflit et n'importe quel conflit, de respecter les engagements internationaux, y compris d'éviter les attaques contre les civils et l'infrastructure civile. Premier point. Et en ce qui concerne la situation actuelle, oui, il y a des négociations partielles qui déroulent maintenant. Et dans ce type de conflit, c'était le cas de temps en temps qu'il y a un écart entre les prononciations, les prononciations officielles ou des commentaires officiels et des négociations. Le Canada n'est pas une partie des négociations, mais on continue d'encourager le respect pour le droit international.
Follow-up?
Thank you. And Trump began this war talking about freeing the Iranian people. Now he's threatening to wipe out their civilization permanently. Do you regret your initial support of this war?
Well, the initial point which we made is the grave threat that the Iranian regime has posed for not just threat, but the actual acts of the Iranian regime over the course of more than 4 decades. The threat to peace and security in the broader Middle East. It is one of the largest state sponsors of terrorism in the region and more broadly. Terrorism that has taken the lives of Canadian citizens, including in the downing of the Ukrainian airliner a few years ago. So this was the first point that we were making, was the desirability of the ending of both that state-sponsored terrorism and the nuclear ambitions of Iran. That remains the case. It has always been the case, though, that Canada makes a distinction, a fundamental distinction, as others do, between those objectives and obligations under international law and the respect for human rights, which would be inconsistent. Well, I'll just refer back to my previous comment. Thank you.
Next.
En français as well, please.
Et en ce qui concerne le régime iranien, c'est une des grandes sources de terrorisme depuis 4 décennies. Alors, c'est un objectif de cesser cette exportation de terrorisme et les ambitions iraniennes d'acquérir une arme nucléaire. Okay? Ça, c'est au fond, c'est un des objectifs. Et le Canada soutient des efforts d'arrêter le terrorisme d'Iran, le terrorisme qui a été tué plusieurs Canadiens. Il faut le dire. Il faut le reconnaître. OK? Mais, cela dit, il faut toujours respecter les droits internationaux et les droits humains. Merci.
Next question.
Nathaniel Dove from Global News. Prime Minister, last year one of your cabinet ministers lost their seat here in Brampton. All the other Liberal MPs who won did so by somewhat narrow margins. You now have 3 of 5 Brampton MPs in your ministry, including the first ever Secretary of State for combating crime. How did your party's reputation on crime and law and order issues contribute to your party's election results?
Well, I think let me answer it with the way that our cabinet, our caucus, and myself approach these issues, which is there are serious issues with respect to crime in Brampton, in the Peel region, in other parts of the country. And that is why we have been, from the moment that we came into government, a little less than a year ago, following the election, we have done multiple things to address those problems. First, more RCMP, 1,000 more RCMP, bringing them on, 1,000 more border agents, CBSA agents. Secondly, the toughest tightening of criminal legislation the criminal code in generations. Tougher conditions for bail, longer sentencing, for home invasions, for use of weapons, for gang crime, for gun crime. Tightening border security, measures against combating hate, so-called Bill C9, just a long series of essential legislation. And in addition, working with other levels of government, working with municipalities, close cooperation between MPs, myself, and others with Mayor Brown, cooperation with local police forces, with the province of Ontario in this case, crime summits, which we had earlier this year, and just this needs to be a relentless focus and using all the powers of the federal government, some of which respect to the criminal code, some of which are respect with resources. We obviously don't do local policing. We do protect our borders. We do have RCMP, anti-terrorism, and other policing that and anti-gang work which we can use to supplement. We're starting to see results. We're not satisfied, and we're going to keep at this. And in fact, I'm going to go from here to meet with local police to address some of the real, or to discuss some of the real on-the-ground issues. So we come to it not from an electoral perspective, if I can just put it back to your question, but from the perspective of serving and protecting the people of Brampton, the people of the Peel region, the people of Ontario, people of Canada.
Follow-up?
Global News obtained data from the Privy Council Office's internal polling program last November that shows that 55% of Canadians feel crime is on the rise. Why do you think that is?
Well, look, the level of crime is too high. I mean, you can say any level of crime is too high. The level of crime is too high. What is happening in many municipalities is that we're starting to see a decline in the level of crime. But there is understandably always going to be a lag before that materializes in a changing of view. So that's the first 2 points. And it just brings us back to a fundamental point that more needs to be done. More is being done, and we're seeing progress being made, but we have to keep at it. We have to keep our foot on the gas pedal here. We have to keep working with all levels of government. I would very much welcome your question because it needs to continue to have a focus and work through, and we're committed to continue to do that.
Prochaine question.
Bonjour, M. Carney, Marion Bérubé de Radio-Canada.
Bon.
Le président français Emmanuel Macron a critiqué Trump la semaine dernière, l'a accusé de manquer de sérieux, de dire chaque jour le contraire de ce qu'il dit la veille. Trouvez-vous aussi que Donald Trump parle trop?
Il y a des gens qui pensent que je parle trop et mes réponses sont trop longues. Non, il faut sérieusement le message, je partage au message du président, Monsieur le Président Macron, c'est une situation sérieuse. C'est la vie des femmes et des hommes, les vies des civils. C'est une question de guerre et paix. Il faut choisir des mots et surtout être prudent avec les actions. Merci.
Autre sujet complètement. Comment pouvez-vous garantir qu'il n'y a pas de conflit d'intérêts entre votre ministre des Finances, François-Philippe Champagne, et la société Alto, alors que sa conjointe fait partie de l'organisation?
OK. Merci pour votre question. Tout d'abord, il faut commencer avec une réalité. Monsieur le ministre, Madame la ministre, n'importe quel ministre, il y a des conjoints et des conjointes. Et les conjoints et les conjointes ont des jobs, ont des carrières. Ils sont des individus. Et il faut avoir un système que c'est possible d'avoir une carrière, un job dans la situation. Et c'est la raison pour laquelle il y a des règles en ce qui concerne les conflits d'intérêts. Et M. Champagne, il suit toutes les règles concernant cette situation. C'est déjà fait avec la commission d'éthique et tout cela. Alors, il y a des règles, on suit des règles, il suit des règles, et au fond, c'est simple. Et en ce qui concerne l'Alto, c'est un projet très excitant pour l'Ontario, pour le Québec, pour le Canada, un projet qui va créer plus de 50 000 jobs et 35 milliards du PIB pour notre pays.
Can you say that in English?
Can I say in English? Okay. Well, the first thing to say is that whatever minister, hopefully, they will have a partner, and that partner will have a job, they'll have a career. And it's important that we have a system that those individuals can continue to pursue their career. And we do have a system. There are rules, there are regulations, and the Minister of Finance has followed those rules and regulations in notification of the Ethics Commissioner, in recusing himself from dealings with respect to Alto. And I'll just finish by observing that this is a good situation because we have a partner who can pursue her career, the Minister of Finance who can do his responsibilities. We have lots of other ministers who can take on their responsibilities. And we have a project that's going to contribute more than $35 billion to our economy and create more than 50,000 jobs. Good for Ontario, good for Quebec, good for Canada.
Next question.
Merci, Prime Minister. Irab Chakar with Turkish Voice of Canada. I had a very well structured question for this morning, but then I ran into one of my neighbors while walking our dogs in the morning, and I asked her,
Okay.
what would you ask to the Prime Minister this morning? I'm going to meet him in Brampton in a couple hours, I said, and she's a very well education, had a very well education. She's in the aviation industry, and she asked, well, I don't know why, because of a war in Iran, which is not our war, our gas prices are skyrocketing. Don't we have so much gas and oil, and yet I am almost paying $2 at the pump? Why is this happening? So what is your answer to the everyday Canadians on that matter?
Yes, sure. Well, this is an important question, a fundamental question, a question people ask themselves every day, or they deal with the consequences every day, every time they go to the pump, or if they use home heating oil, or they're buying an airline ticket. She's in the aviation industry, buying an airline ticket, they're seeing the cost go up. And I mean, the short answer is because there's a global market, and those countries that have lots of oil and gas see their prices go up alongside with those who don't have that oil and gas. It's the same shifts up in prices in the United States as well. The United States has a lot of oil and gas as well. And so the question becomes, and this is what the government's focused on, is how long is this going to persist, and what can we do to help cushion the blow for Canadians? And that's something we're looking at. Thank you.
I have another question. Your government frames infrastructure investment as job creation as well. Yet youth employment remains about twice the national average, while key sectors still face labor shortages. Why does this mismatch persist? And what is your government doing to better align talent with demand?
Yeah, great question, fundamental question. So one of the first things in terms of our strategy has been to identify the projects, get the funding in place, build Canada Homes, get what we're announcing today, the community infrastructure, build community strong infrastructure, $51 billion. Get that in place and start to get the projects moving. That process is starting. It's going to continue to pick up pace, and there's going to be more and more demand. Now, in parallel, what you're going to see is a series of initiatives around training, skills, apprenticeships, for youth, for other Canadians, so that, because we've been saying this from the start, the next 25, 30 years is going to be a great time to be in the trades, to be an electrician, to be a pipe fitter, to be a welder, to be a plumber, a carpenter and beyond, because we are literally going to build this country. I gave you one statistic in my remarks where just for community infrastructure, the rate of building for community infrastructure is going to be twice the rate as it has been for the last 8 years over the course of the next 8 years, and we would expect that would continue beyond. But that's just what we've identified. So exactly this point for youth, And you know, we're here in, right next to a youth center. And so there's a variety of things, and I'll finish on this, which is part of it is engaging with youth, whether it's in sports, whether it's in programming, music, other things, all of which happens here at this, or will happen here at this youth center, will happen at Embleton as well. Getting youth engaged, but also making available to them those pathways to get the skilled trades, to become engineers, to be part of building our country, all of which we will be doing, and you'll see more in the coming weeks and months on that.
Have time for one last question. Dernière question.
Good morning, Prime Minister Mark Carney, the Canadian Press. Many municipalities are strongly opposed to the high-speed rail project. How do you address their concerns, and do you think the merits of the project outweigh the negative impacts on these communities?
Well, I think what's important with the high-speed rail is to recognize the process. There's a process which determines the route for the high-speed rail, which looks at a broad potential range of routes, in the extreme sort of 10 kilometers of route, but it ends up being about 10 meters, right? So, you know, a first down sort of space that it's in. And that puts in context, so the context of consultation with municipalities, individuals, businesses, et cetera. And of course, the compensation would ultimately be there. The company, the consortium that's building the high-speed rail, the consortium called Alto, they're leading that process. And we're in the early stages of that, and we'll make sure that that's done effectively. When you look at the overall, what the high-speed rail does is it's you know, more cost-effective, it's more sustainable, it's connecting our communities, it's going to be faster, and I gave the figures. I mean, it's going to create a huge number of jobs directly, and a big boost to our economies over time. So this is Canadian expertise, Canadian steel, Canadian workers building our country strong.
Thank you. This puts Senator Press. Oh, en français très rapidement.
En français, en ce qui concerne, nous sommes au début d'une consultation, qui est menée par le consortium Alto, premier point. Et il faut reconnaître que le processus, il y a un grand éventail possible du trajet du train de haute vitesse, mais au fond, c'est seulement une 10 mètres you know, ça c'est la taille à la fin. Et alors, le processus va dérouler. Il y a des consultations, la compensation, et à la fin, il y aura une train à haute vitesse qui va connecter les communautés canadiennes et créer des bons jobs et beaucoup de rendement économique pour notre pays.
Merci.
Bon,
C'est ce qui met fin à notre conférence de presse de Spot Senator Press Conference. Thank you.